Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time we're going to be taking a look through another batch of vintage pan paperbacks. So it's been a few months since I've actually had a chance to go through a nice batch of pans, and I'm really looking forward to looking through and seeing what we're going to find today. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Okay then, so we're starting off with this Agatha Christie. This one's actually slightly lower grade than I was expecting, to be honest. I thought most of my Christies have been upgraded a few times over the years, particularly in recent years. But that one's it's a first, but it's just quite worn, that one. So I'm going to put that as an upgrade, or a potential upgrade. This is nice, bit of science fiction. And I'm hoping that, well, I'm guessing that most of these aren't going to need too much work, because the pans is a vintage series I've been very much getting quite a lot of recently, and they should be fairly nice copies with a bit of luck, but you never can tell. Ones which have been in the collection for years potentially have still got their original prices and things on, so we'll have to have a look. That one's got a little name inside, but it's not something I can rub out because it's in pen. And I see that this one is also a reprint. So that's interesting. So number 328. I now need to have a look for the first printing of that one. Not sure why I haven't got that in first edition, but I'll make a note of it when I come to the editing stage. Might be a different cover, possibly. They have their exits. This is by Airy Neve. Airy Neve was one of the first 4 people to break out of Colditz during the Second World War. Very interesting story about his trip to Switzerland. He did eventually become a Conservative MP in the 1970s and was actually assassinated by the IRA in, I think, 1979 when he was leaving the House of Commons. So a real tragedy for an absolute war hero. Consulate Sunset. It's okay. Time and time again. So I have got a full set of all the numbered only series of pans, but they're not all in the greatest shape, so I do have quite a list of ones that I'm looking to upgrade. But I didn't think I was missing any first editions, so I am quite surprised that we found one there right off the bat. But there you go, that's another good reason to be going through these. But like any book collector, you're constantly upgrading. I mean, you're never off duty, and you can take it to the nth degree, so you take it as far as you want, really. These are all sort of mid-50s ones, yeah, 1955, just to put them into date perspective, so you know what we're looking at. These will all be sort of 1955, 1956. This is a nice one, Arthur Conan Doyle. His last battle. It's one of those ones with a glossier cover than normal pans. Seemed to be some sort of experiment that they've had going on. Slip those there a minute. Trojan horse. Of course, a big part of my collection, I've collected pans literally for years, but a big injection of new pan into my library came about 2 years ago when I bought a big collection from a collector who'd sadly died, and I bought the whole lot, and I went through and did loads of upgrades, as you can imagine, and filled in lots of gaps of ones that I didn't have. But even that didn't finish the set. I still needed a few to get all of these number only ones. So far, not a lot is needing any sort of work, which is cool. Obviously they're all a bit dusty on the top, and some of them have never had their covers polished, so we'll be doing that as well. As I said, I'm doing all my pans in numerical order, so you're going to get to see them all eventually. So as I film this, I went to Hay on Wye earlier this week, which is in Wales, and it's like the fabled home of books, and I did buy a couple of pans actually, a couple that I didn't have. I went in a handful of bookshops, sort of the better ones for paperbacks, including Murder and Mayhem, which has got a lot of Agatha Christie's across all publishers, but lots of pans as well. It's a little bit warm, but it is only sort of a romancy one, so I'm not going to bother too much upgrading it or anything. Right, so let's give these a polish, a brush rather, not a polish yet, we'll do that at the end, but we will give them a brush off now. You can sort of clearly see that that one there is really dark. It's been in my collection for years because it's a Second World War escape one. It's just never had any sort of brush off, whereas the other ones might have had at least something over the years. It's just that second one in, yeah, it's taken loads of dust off it. And by this point in their history, Pan were really established, so the books are quite nicely made, you know, they're quite robust. They've got great cover art. It really is a great period for Pan, this mid to late 1950s. In fact, I think they remained fantastic right up until about 64, 65. Then the cover designs start to change a bit. The beautiful painted artwork starts to become less frequent, and the books, I think, take a turn for the worse. But this period we're looking at today, they're just great. They're really nice. Particularly the crime and sci-fi titles, which are always amongst my favourites. Lovely, so that's the first little wedge. We've got a hole in the ground. This is a really nice crime title, nice copy of that as well. I've never read Andrew Garth, but I hear good things about him, so maybe he's one I'll give a try to. There's Stanley Gardner, that. It's got a very beaten up spine down the bottom there. This is quite a rough old copy, so if it's not already, this one needs to go on my upgrade list. So this one's very dog-eared, that one. So I'm not going to bother repairing the bottom of the spine. It's just about there, but if it's not already, note to self at the editing stage, stick that one on my on my upgrade list. Here's a nice Agatha Christie, a real classic cover, that one. Sparkling cyanide. Lovely, isn't it? And it was these sort of 50s pans which were the very earliest ones in my mum's collection. She read a lot of Agatha Christie, and she had some pans, and then she had the early Fontanas, and they were the ones I borrowed, and then my sister borrowed them. My sister's a huge fan of Christie. Now see, this one's also a reprint, so this is Daughter of the House. This is also a 1956 reprint, so make a note of that. And there's a little 10p inside, so that's two books which are not first pan editions. Well, I never knew. I was confident I had them all, so it just shows, doesn't it? Worth double checking. It's probably the original cover, which is the main thing, but it's always nice to have them in a true sort of first edition, you know. And it's funny, I've not come across or bought any sort of lots of pans lately. In actual fact, I've been trying to sell off lots of my doubles, which I have. I've sold a few hundred on my other channel. So if you've not seen that, I did put up a sales video of lots and lots of spare pans, a few hundred in fact. And they've gone down very, very well. Gone right around the world. Because I did them cheap, because I like to share the love. And I needed to make some space, basically. So, all these lovely crime ones. Another gorgeous one here. Josephine Tay. That's great. And there's a little bit of something on the back there, which hopefully that's going to come on. Yeah, it's also sort of coming off in my hand already. Not sure what that was, but it's something historical. So I just scrape it off now with my fingernail. There's obviously something there that had got on it historically. There we are, that's sort of got that out. Thankfully, this is another one which has got a really sort of glossy cover, really shiny cover, which makes them really easy to clean, basically. Muck and dirt gets repelled rather than absorbed. And that's a real beauty, that one, isn't it? Real collector's copy, that one. Another crime one. I see there's a little bit of there. 9/5/56, so I'm guessing that's the 9th of May 1956, something like that. It's also got that on the back, so that was probably popped on by the bookshop on the back cover here to keep an eye, or even a newsstand stall to keep an eye on how long the book had been in stock, so that if it had been there for say 3 months and not sold, they could return it to the publisher to get credit. And that's how the book business used to work, on a strictly sale or return basis. Not anymore, but back in the day, right up until the very late 90s, early 2000s, it was all SOR, sale or return. This has got lots of little marks inside, of which I shall rub them out. As I said, I thought this was probably going to be the case, in that there'll be odd little marks inside these for books that hadn't been through the system properly yet, you know. There's another one there. This one says 8/79, so is that August 1979? It may be when the previous owner actually read the book. Not sure. People do funny things inside books, don't they? This is on the front cover. It had another little date, which I'm trying to get off now. Ever so softly. Thankfully, it's got a fairly glossy cover, this one. So it's doing the business. Yeah. Right, have we got it all? Because there was an awful lot of marks and annotations in that one. Yeah, there we are. We got it all. Brilliant. That's a fairly scarce Western, this one. In fact, all these Zane Greys, you know, I was surprised at the sort of money that they're fetching. And all I can think of is that perhaps they're out of print now. Maybe quite difficult to get, and or the Western collectors just love these original editions from the 50s. This was in the real, around this time was the real heyday of the Westerns on TV, wasn't it? So here's another one here. So they did 2 back to back. Zane Grey was one of the big names in the world of Western writing. Torn over a corner there. A little bit of page edge foxing, but nothing too serious. A little mark on the spine there I've just seen. Covering the H there. Let's see if I can get that off. Yeah, not sure what that was, but it's come off okay. Master de la Roche, light romance title. Oh, that's got a nice vintage bookmark in. What's this? George's George's, the complete. I remember George's. There was a George's in my hometown a long time ago. Books there since 1847. 100,000 volumes in stock. We buy books. Well, that's quite a nice one, isn't it? I shall keep that in my bookmark collection. That's very nice, that. I do love coming across old bookmarks like that. And that's a particularly nice one. A few more here to do before we give these a brush down. This is a Hammond Innes, one of his most famous ones, Madden's Rock. Just the faintest sort of hint of the price there. There we go. The Clue of the New Shoe, Arthur Upfield. These really are brilliant, aren't they? These early pans. They are just the business. Particularly when they're nice nick, which they're not always. Often they're read and reread lots and lots of times and they sort of fall to bits, but these are pretty nice. Okay, so let's get these into 4 piles and give them all a brush. Lovely. Quite darkened on one edge, so nice to see this one lightening up. I have to admit the books look fantastic on the shelf once they've been gone through the treatment. And I was having a look ahead to see sort of what we've got coming up. So I've recently finished my movie and TV times, at least the sort of the miscellaneous titles. I've still got the Star Trek and Star Wars and Doctor Who to do on those, and they're all sort of kept separately. So do look out for those at some point in the future. But next to my sort of TV and film paperbacks, there was my like miscellaneous American publishers, of which they could really use a good sort out and going through and a clean. Because once again, they're ones that I've sort of picked up over the years, and I'm not really. They're in a bit of a mishmash really, so I think the sooner I get those sorted the better. So they are going to be coming up as well, but I would imagine that's once again going to be 2, maybe 3 videos to go through my my American miscellaneous paperbacks. Now this one's a beauty on the outside, but it's got that pen on the the sellotape on the inside front cover there. But even though it's yellowed and it's historical, I think I'll do it more. If I take it off, it's going to leave a stain, but you can sort of see where if I did take it off, this cover has come away, and rather than glue it, they've taped it. So my best bet is to just leave that one as is, in actual fact, and just give it a polish and brush in a minute. There's another nice, this is a factual book on space, so you have to remember around this time the space race was starting with Sputnik and what have you. This is a factual book on sending rockets to space. Here's an absolute beauty. It's the follow-up, more Ghost Stories of an Antiquary, M.R. James. Very, very nice. I love all these sort of ghost stories, horror stories, one particularly the early editions. They are gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And if you ever see them, always pick them out, even if it's just to read. And then awful. Good speaking. Less said about that, the better. Another real fantastic jacket here by Mortimer, The Saint in Miami. Yeah, very, very nice. Hatred, ridicule, or contempt. It's funny how Pan seemed to sort of corner the early market in true crime in paperback. They did quite a lot, didn't they? Sort of on courts and lawyers and that sort of thing, you know. Oh, here's nice. This is one of Hayer's crime novels, Detection Unlimited. These are quite scarce. There's a few published in Penguin as well, equally scarce. Sort of one of the golden age, golden ladies of crime. Well, this was contemporary. That was 53, the hardback, 56 for the Pan. Road to Endor. Lovely. Nice one here. Second World War submarine story. Pretty nice copy of that one. Another Christie, Secret of the Chimneys. They were certainly pumping them out. What Penguin didn't have, Pan had. And what Penguin and Pan didn't have, Collins had. And we're putting them out in Fontana. So across the three publishers, she had three very willing publishers looking to push her books as best as possible, or as good as possible. What a position to be in. The Year of the Lion, Gerald Hanley. Lovely. All right, let's give these a brush down. Yeah, see that? Going to really benefit across the top edge there. It's always the top edges which historically have been worse, because the books are on the shelf and the dust settles on the top, doesn't it? And that's why the top edges are always in need of the brush. But when they're on my shelves, I then cover them with like beer towels and tea towels, so that the dust, if it does settle, it's not going to go on these top edges, so it's going to keep them nice and clean. And obviously I've got a real record of the books that I've done in this series, so I know what has been cleaned and what hasn't. And it might seem like we've done a lot. This is like number 38 in the series or something. There's an awful lot still to go. And we haven't really even scratched the surface of the hardbacks and stuff yet, of which, you know, there's shells and shells and shells to do. So it's going to take an awful long time, but it's going to be worth doing. Really dark cover on this one here, giving it an extra buffing. Lovely. get this final stack done. So basically these are an entire shelf on one of my bookcases, and that's sort of how I bring these out. So sometimes there's slightly more books than we've got to show, sometimes there's about what we're showing today. So, but on average, they even out. Another absolutely beautiful copy of some of these. Now this is a bona fide sci-fi SF classic, Arthur C. Clarke. Childhood's End. It's got that little back cover slightly bent, so I'll make sure that that one goes flat going forward. Here's another beauty, and I don't know if you can see, but it's highly reflective and glossy front cover. So they were experimenting with these glossy jackets at this time. Now this particular one, it's worked because it's kept the jacket absolutely tip-top condition. Look at that, it's almost like it's laminated, isn't it? But it's not. Very nice bright red spine as well, no fading. Yeah, just a bit of, you know, edge foxing, but that's a really nice one. Austin Freeman. It's funny, hardly any of these have needed much work, I guess because I have been upgrading them over the years so often. But as I said, I have been through these and I've made a list of ones that I do wish to upgrade. This is hopefully on it. So if it's not, number 372, note to self. It's fine, it's all there, and it's a fairly square copy, it's just dirty. It's just really, really dirty, that one. It would be nice to have a cleaner copy than that. No O Marsh. Remember my mum loving these as well. Never really got into her myself, but I hear she's alright. Another one of the classic authors. I Spied for Stalin. Nora Murray. Little sort of mark there on Stalin's nose. Well, we'll have a look at that with Mr. Sheen in a minute. The remnants of a 25p in here as well. Really, really deep. Like it's been really pushed down. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get any more out, but I'm going to give it a go. Well, maybe, but it was pushed. Yes, that's better. But it was pushed on so hard. Yeah, it's almost come through to the page underneath. Someone obviously didn't care. Another Mazar de la Roche, The Building of Jana. It's on the face of it a really nice copy, just a little bit grubby. Another lovely Andrew Garve, Death and the Sky Above. Nice copy of that one as well. I seem to remember I did pick up a little run of his books because he's got some in Fontana as well, and they were off an original owner who bought them pretty much all from brand new, and he let them go pretty cheap because I was buying so many off him. It's a second print, that one, so there you go. Make a note of that as well. So that's 3 second printings. How dare they? Heinlein, Green Hills of Earth. Lovely. The Surgeon's Heritage. And I think we're going to need to get the old Pritt stick out for this one. This is looking a bit on the rough side, so just give it the flick through. Yeah, so a couple of pages need, corners need turning over. That's lovely. But I'm going to get a bit of glue in that corner there because the spine here is just coming away, just a touch in there. The other side's alright, so I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue in that corner there, just to stop that snagging. Only takes a tiny dot. There we are, squeeze that in. Alright, easy. And then we got the last one for today, the big pickup. Story of Dunkirk. Lovely. Okay. Right. So next step then, let's get the polish out. Okay. Got my Mr. Sheen, which should be okay for a couple more vids, which is what I'm filming today. So I'm doing this pan one, and I'm also doing a vintage penguin one, but I'm not going to need to be able to polish anything on the penguin ones because the books are all too old and they don't have polishable covers, unlike these lovely pans do. So some will undoubtedly come out better than others, but we'll give them all the treatment. I must get round to doing a video on pan science fiction. We'll pull all the sort of the early ones together, similar for pan horror. But with the pan horror, I'm trying to track down all the rest of the pan book of horror stories. So I've almost got them all now, but I'm trying to find them in first edition in nice condition and at a reasonable price is getting very, very difficult these days, because it's quite a collectible old series, the Pan Book of Horror Stories. But I'll get there in the end, and I'll be very pleased when I do. Made a big difference on that one. Some of these are quite dirty, and even doing this is not really going to make much of an impact, sadly. But that's okay, it is what it is. It's just a delight to go and look through them. I just really, really love these old pans. I love them to death. And I'm imagining that sort of shows in these videos. glossy covered one, so I was hoping that would come out really nice, and it has. Still got some bits of wear on it, or dirt as it were, but I think it's better than what it was. It's definitely lightening up a bit as I'm running the old cloth over it. Of course, these yellow backs pick up fingerprints like you wouldn't believe. Fingerprints in dirt. Got loads off that one. Death at half term, eh? Dear, oh dear. Some marks on the back here, and looks like they're coming off okay. There we are, yeah, must have been a little bit of glue that was over there or something like that. That's come up quite nice. the back, but I can't do anything about that one, sadly. Lovely. Move the cloth around a bit to a bit of a cleaner piece. This lovely Andrew Garth. Of course, one book that we would have seen in here would have been my copies of Casino Royale and Moonraker by Ian Fleming. They would have fitted in this particular little run. We've already covered those in my dedicated James Bond video, so that's why they're not here today, because they're separate with all the James Bond books together. Another one with a bit of like gluish sort of residue on the back, which is going to need a bit more attention in a sec. Right down the bottom there, so it's a bit of targeted Mr. Sheen, I think. Is it making a difference? Well, maybe a little bit. I really don't know what it is that's there, but it's very stubborn, whatever it is. Let's take most of it off. So it's okay, quite a bright copy of that one actually. Cool Saint book. These books are eating the Mr. Sheen. And I take particular care with the spines on these because they often, the titles and author name get yellowed out because they've been in an environment where people have been smoking, and the spines can get a bit yellowed, and or some bleached as well. That can affect them. And then by putting the polish in on the spine, it can make it can really lighten them. Really make a huge difference. This one's particularly bright anyway. Lovely. Book of the day, that one, I think. Absolute beauty. Absolute beauty. Book of the day. I don't think we've seen any covers by my favourite pan cover artist, Peth. I know he did work for other publishers, but he's my favourite. I don't think I've seen any today. They've all been by other publishers. Maybe he wasn't in full swing just yet. Looking good, but you can definitely see that a lot of these had already been done compared to other ones where we've done recently done some of my movie and TV tie-ins, and the books had never been done and they've been in the collection a long time, so consequently they were really, really tatty. Whereas these pan books is something that I've tried to amass a collection of over the last sort of 20-25 years, and they've been bought with a view to sort of looking for the best copies that I could find, really. So to begin with, they're not falling to bits on the whole. I know we've got a few sort of placeholders, but they'll be changed eventually. Now, one thing I am looking forward to doing, I am planning a visit to Tim at ticket.net in a few months' time, probably sort of September-ish. Tim runs the Pan Collectors website, so that's at ticket.net. So if you are at all interested in Pan, I do suggest heading off there and having a look. And all the covers are on there, complete catalogues. Every book is illustrated. Tim's got lots of Pan artwork and things like that, so it's brilliant, really, if you're into Pan books. And I'm hoping to visit his incredible Pan collection. That's his specialty. Hopefully quite soon. And I shall, of course, film a series of videos on that trip for my other channel. So if you've not checked out my other channel, please do, because there's one recent pickups cleaning video a month over there. And lots of other book related content, as well as other bits and pieces, so like old toys, and there's some retro gaming stuff. Totally understand if you're not into the retro gaming, but I only do like one video a week on those. But there's at least one book video a week, and I said my trip to Hay-on-Wye is fully documented. And the first part will be up on that channel by the time you view this, and the second part will be coming out the day after this is released, so you can have a look at my comprehensive hour-long video looking at Hay-on-Wye, the home of books. Lovely one, this. A little bit of staining on the side there, but you know, I've had a few copies through my hands, and when I get duplicates, I always take out my originals and compare and try and keep the best looking one. But sometimes there's not a lot in it, you know, it's as broad as it's long, and I just sort of keep what I've got. Doing that really, really nicely, these. So pleased with them. I do love a good pan. Another very nice Georgette hair. And to be honest, it's not until you actually go out to the bookshops and you see what's out there and what's on display for sale that you realise just how poor quality a lot of these books are that are on or in the second-hand shops these days. You've got to really look for decent quality copies, and it makes you really appreciate the ones that you've actually got. So even if they've got the odd imperfection, I really don't mind, because generally speaking, what's out there is pretty poor. They're just one after another. They're just wonderful, aren't they? They really, really are so nice. Let's get this last pile over here now. Another one of those sort of true crimey ones. Yeah, since I've been with Steve over the last few days up in Hay, his love of SF has rubbed off on me a little bit, and I need to maybe want to brush up on a few titles that I should have read or sound really, really good and I want to now read, so I'll try and catch up on a bit of that. This was that really nice glossy one, which was in lovely condition, but even so it's still got a little age to the laminate somehow, and I'm not sure how that's happened, but these things do. But basically underneath it's kept the book very, very nice indeed, but it's one of those slightly odd ones. So the book is lovely, but you can sort of see around the lozenge there a little bit of sort of, I don't know, sort of, well, I guess just aging. When was this book published? Is it 1955, 1956? 1956. So when you consider its age, I suppose, you know, was it 64 years? We'll let it off. But it is funny how books are aging, and they age in different ways. And a lot of it is just down to how ultimately they've been stored and cared for, really. As I said, ultimately I think I will have to eventually get round to bagging all my books, but I don't particularly relish the thought of doing it, to be honest. I love the fact I can just go up to the shelf and pull a book off and instantly start reading it. That has a lot of appeal to me. But I do also appreciate that the books do have a certain collectible value these days, and I don't want to lower that value. And if they are bagged, they are protected, and it does sort of slow the aging process. It definitely doesn't get rid of it. But on new books especially, it does slow them, because a lot of new books are printed on recycled paper, which is even more susceptible to aging. There we go, let's get them tucked away. So we've got the last little stack now. So I guess I ought to do my summing up, really, which is, thanks very much for watching today. I hope you've enjoyed watching me go through and clean these latest batch of vintage Pan books from the collection. I've been neglecting them a little bit lately, so I wanted to mix it up a little bit. So I hope you've enjoyed what I've been putting out recently, but you know, I hope you find these equally as interesting as well. Something for a bit of a change. If you have enjoyed today's video, do please give it that thumbs up. If you really enjoyed it, leave a comment below and tell me. It does help, and it keeps me encouraged to do more of these week after week. Obviously, if you've not yet subscribed, do please do that. I'd very much like to get to 1,000 subscribers sooner rather than later. We're only about 120 away now, so it's not a lot really, is it? So I should be able to get there fairly swiftly, which would be good news. And then at least I'll get a little bit of reward from YouTube, and they'll pump the videos out a little bit more as well, which is also the main reason to get to 1,000 subscribers. You just get a little bit more of a, I don't know, established continuity, as it were, I suppose, you know. But yeah, if you have enjoyed it, do please hit that subscribe button, because it does help the channel. last couple done now. Little plane flying overhead again. We've had it very lucky all morning because I filmed this quite early in the morning, but can't help the old plane. Yeah, sounds like it's right above the house, doesn't it? Right, here we are. Doing this last one now, which is the big pickup. Brilliant, so yeah, thanks very much for watching today. And I'll see you again next week when we're going to be doing a nice batch of wartime, the start of wartime vintage Penguin books. So they will be quite involved, I have a funny feeling, because they're so old and fragile compared to these. So yeah, I shall see you then. Bye.